Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel, and today we're going to look at some brand new cards that got revealed that are going to be featured in our November set, Searching Sparks. Not a whole lot of brand new cards got revealed. We have a couple of new Pokemon, including a brand new Magneton that I wanted to look at and talk about in today's video, because I don't know how good this Magneton actually is going to be for the game, because this Magneton has a pretty good ability that I wanted to talk about in today's video. A bit more of a shorter one today, but I wanted to look at these new cards nonetheless and talk about some of them in a little bit more depth in today's video here, and I'll leave a link to PokeBeach down below, the site I'm using, in the description if you want to check out any of the cards for yourself. And if you're new to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We're on the road to 17,000 subscribers, and yeah, let's take a look at these new cards. Let me know what you think of them down below. Starting these off, we do have a brand new Shiinotic here. The new Shiinotic has this ability, Relaxing Light. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may use this ability. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. So, similar to an old Mareep we had, I think it was Mareep from Lost Thunder, had the same ability where you leave it in the active spot and you can make your opponent's active Pokemon asleep. Shiinotic, thankfully, is a Stage 1 Pokemon. It's not a basic, so it's not as good as Mareep, and it does have a 2 retreat cost. Best way to play Shiinotic would be to have it with like a rescue board on it, so you can like pivot it, put your opponent to sleep, and then move it back to the bench. But unfortunately, you can't put a rescue board on it and retreat for free, as it has a 2 retreat cost. The best play I can see with Shiinotic would be to play it with something like Jinx EX. It's a bit more of a meme, but theoretically, Jinx with Shiinotic could work. You could put your opponent's active to sleep right away. You could play this with like, I don't know, Sneasler V Dangerous Laser. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a way Shiinotic can see play. But if there's any like sleep combos in the format, then there you go. You got a home for Shiinotic. Now, where things get interesting is actually the brand new Quaquaval line here. Now, the new Quaquaval is very much similar to an old Claydol we had from way back in the Diamond and Pearl era. And that Claydol was good. This Quaquaval is a Stage 2, 170 HP. It's got the ability up tempo here. Once during your turn, you may put a card from your hand onto the bottom of your deck. If you do, draw cards until you have 5 in your hand. So that's a pretty cool ability. Now, it is similar to an old Claydol we had, which did something similar, except Claydol, you had the ability to put 2 cards from your hand to the bottom of your deck, and then you can drop to 5. So, Quaquaval is a bit more of a nerfed Claydol. It's also a Stage 2. Obviously, Claydol was a Stage 1. That's what made Claydol so good back in the day. It was a Stage 1 Pokemon. It was a lot more easier to put Claydol into play than it was Quaquaval. Quaquaval being a Stage 2 Pokemon does make it a bit slower. Now, obviously, when this card comes out in November, you know, we'll still have stuff like Bibarel in the format, but maybe when Bibarel rotates, I don't know. I don't know if the format will ever be fast enough for a Stage 2 draw engine to actually be good. But if we could ever get Quaquaval to be a draw engine, it's not bad. I mean, the ability is nice. You could even play it with Skwovet if you wanted to. You could go Skwovet to 1. If you don't like that 1 card off the Skwovet, you can Quaquaval it to the bottom of the deck and then draw 5 cards. So, I don't know. There is some hope for Quaquaval. I don't know. It's a cool ability. Again, the only thing limiting it is a Stage 2, though it is nice that Pokemon have kind of brought back this Claydol in some way, shape, or form. It is a cool card, but again, being a Stage 2 is ultimately what holds it back. There's, like, potentially better draw engines post-rotation, like Revavroom, maybe Dunsparce. We'll see. Now, there were a couple of new cards that got revealed after I posted my video looking at the Flygon and Arcralodon EX. A couple of new cards got revealed here. Nothing too crazy, but I wanted to talk about them real quick. We got a new Braviary here. Nothing too crazy there. We did get another Goldango single prizer. It's got the attack Surf Return, does 100 damage. You can shuffle it in all cards attached to it back to your deck. And then you got Rich Strike for 1 metal, does 30. And if you evolve from Gimmighoul this turn, you can do 120 damage. So if you want to play a 1 prize Goldango in the Goldango EX deck to help deal with Mimikyu, then maybe this Goldango is the right one to play. You can also play this with Reversal Energy as like a hidden run deck, just for like the memeage. We got a new basic Smoochum here, a new baby Pokemon. Happy Kiss. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Psych Energy and attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. Honestly, not a bad first attack. I mean, we've seen the baby Pokemon see a little bit of play. Like Cleffa, we all know, is a pretty good card. I mean, Cleffa's got Grasping Draw, which is fantastic. And then we have the Elekid. The Elekid sees like minor, like very minor play within like Frostlass decks, but these baby Pokemon aren't terrible, and this Smoochum isn't bad. I mean, accelerating Psychic Energy into play, and it's not bad. I mean, putting Psychic Energy into play isn't bad at all. I definitely think Smoochum is decent. You know, if you find a home for it, definitely could be good. And then finally, we got Surfer here, the last card in this new set that I missed out on the other day when I posted that Flygon video. Surfer has an effect. You can switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, and if you do, you draw cards until you have 5 in your hand. I actually think this card is kind of solid. There are niche uses for wanting to switch. Like, for example, playing Kieran right now. So Kieran, pretty decent card to play in like decks like Charizard. I played Kieran in my Charizard Dragapult deck as a one of. One of the best benefits Kieran gave me is, it had that dual effect. You can either switch or you can do 30 more damage. Now, the nice thing with Surfer is that it lets you switch. And sometimes when I'm using Kieran, I actually use it to literally move my active Pokemon. Like if I'm playing against Gardevoir, for example, I usually like having Kieran to switch out of Monkey Dory Confusion, to switch out of Bibarel getting Fluttermane Counter Catcher trapped. So it is nice to have the ability to switch. And the nice thing with Surfer is not only do you get to switch your Pokemon, you also get to draw cards until you have 5 in your hand. So if there's any deck that likes to use switching effects to a high amount, there's actually a good chance Surfer sees play in that deck. I don't think this card is bad at all. I think it's actually fairly decent. It's not like going to be a staple draw support or anything, but it's definitely not a bad card. Like, being able to switch and draw 5 isn't terrible. We've had switch effects before where you'd switch and then like do a mini effect, but being able to switch and drop to 5 isn't bad. It gives you a bit of draw support, and it lets you move out of the active spot, which there are benefits to that depending on what you're playing against. Definitely not a bad card. Also, keep in mind this also could be okay against Snorlax, I guess, but I mean, you are drawing up to 5. You're technically giving yourself potentially more cards for Snorlax to like Erica, but I did want to highlight Surfer for a sec. All right, now finally, I want to talk about the new Magneton. Now, pull up the Magneton here. You can't really read what the ability is because of the illustrated rare artwork that got revealed here. It's kind of hard to make out what the ability says. So instead of trying to read it off for you guys, I have a translation here on Twitter from Twone. So basically what this card does, it has the ability where once during your turn, you can knock out this Pokemon. And if you do, you can choose up to 3 basic energy cards from your discard pile and attach them to your lightning Pokemon in any way you like. Yes, you heard that right. Magneton can accelerate energy from the discard pile, and it knocks itself out, which is kind of insane. So we can look at the card here, and yeah, it's got that ability where, yeah, you can knock it out, put 3 basic energy if you can make it out there. So the fact is, that is a really good ability. Now, there are obviously benefits to being able to use this because, 1, it's an energy acceleration ability, but 2, you actually get to knock yourself out. So then you can play other cards like Counter Catcher and Counter Gain. This Magneton is kind of scary, I'm not going to lie. So yeah, right off the bat, this Magneton is really, really good, potentially with Iron Hands EX. That was like the first thing that came to my mind. Was that Magneton with Iron Hands looks kind of scary because all of a sudden you can knock out your Magneton and then you can fully power up your Iron Hands essentially in like 1 turn. You just Magneton 3 energy onto it, attach for turn, and just like that, you're amping out of nowhere. And giving up a prize card might not be that bad because you can play, Counter Gain on your Iron Hands. You can Counter Catcher. If your opponent's got a bulky Pokemon in the active spot, you can go around it. You can get access to, like, a potential, like, Iono. Maybe you can Magneton to fix the math for, like, a Judge or something, or a Roxanne or whatever. So, I don't know. Magneton definitely feels like a pretty scary card to have in the format just because it synergizes so well with Iron Hands. You do have to discard Lightning Energy. So if you want to, like, Magneton turn 2, you do have to get energy in the discard pile. But honestly, that's not that hard to do. Because you can play, there's a new Ace spec that lets you discard up to 5 cards in your deck. You can just play Earthen Vessels in your deck, which is a fantastic way to get rid of energy. You have Ultra Ball in the deck, maybe Pokestop. This Magneton definitely looks like it's going to be a pretty interesting new card. It's actually also going to be one of the pre-release promos in Surging Sparks. So definitely keep your eye out for this Magneton. I think it is pretty good and could be very deadly with Iron Hands EX. It might be good with like Lightning decks in general. Like you can obviously use this with Miraidon. Also could be another benefactor. But I think the main partner for this card is obviously going to be Iron Hands EX. That's like the first one that comes to mind. Definitely a very strong card. And yeah, let me know what you think of these new cards down below. Again, a bit more of a shorter video today, but I did want to talk about some of these new cards today. Let me know what you think of the new Surfer, the Smoochum. Let me know what you think of Magneton down below, and the Quaquaval and Shiinotic. And that'll be it for me. We might get more new card reveals very soon. Maybe later tonight we'll get more, so who knows? Maybe it's a double upload today. Hope you enjoyed the video, though, here on the second channel. If you did, leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Help me on the road to reaching 17K subs. And yeah, that'll be it for me. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in another video. Bye-bye.